What it do, man? It's your boy Battle Truth coming to you live and direct from the Battle Truth headquarters, man. I just need to share this with y'all, man. Real deep things, man. Real under here certified gear is now available to everybody that's real. If you fake, you cannot wear this gear, man. You can only get it by purchasing it from me at 414-235-6760. If you can pass the real under here certified gear screening. Right here on the channel, right here, man, it's Crazy Bone, one of the leaders of the Bone Thugs and Harmony group. Y'all remember him. He want to share some things with us on what's going on in the music industry that a lot of y'all don't understand, in a mass behind the scene plan that has been incorporated to add to the murder and mass incarcerations of African Americans in the United States of America and all over the world. So let's listen to what he got to say and the information he's going to tell us about.
And behind the music scene as well, Wow. So getting right down to the issue at hand, I just want to say to all my fellow hip hop artists and hip hop fans that we have been had again. Damn. We've been bamboozled.
Good wait.
Let us stay, I tell you.
All the Malcolm X words.
Once again, you know what I'm saying? Now, a few of y'all might have already heard about this, about how the music industry has very close ties with the private prison system.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because the music business has invested millions of dollars in the private prison system.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you heard it correctly. Again, the music business and the entertainment business in general, meaning people who control the media, the music industry, and also
publication,
private prisons.
Yeah, magazines, all that.
Somebody sent me an article, like I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago.
Right.
And I read this article, bro, and I was like absolutely shocked, very shocked.
Talk to us.
In fact, I want to read this letter. I mean, this article, but it's actually a letter that was written by somebody that was a decision maker at a major label.
Shot call.
And he said, he was invited to a very special meeting about the future of hip hop back in 1991.
Okay.
So here's what he said. This is how the events went down at the meeting.
Break it down, man.
Okay, just ride with me, okay? Because I'm reading this. This is real. Hold on, wait. Let me try to.
Way out article too, man. You know what I'm saying? When you told me on telephone about this, wait till y'all hear this, G. You know what I'm saying? It's just. It's mesmerizing how these people do, you know what I'm saying, the plans that they got to further down, for how far they will go, you know what I'm saying, to make people, actually slip in society, you know what I'm saying.
Okay, so it says, and the title of the letter is The Secret Meeting That Changed Rap Music and Destroyed a Generation.
Damn.
So it says, hello. After more than 20 years, I finally decided to tell the world what I witnessed in 1991, which I believe was one of the biggest turning points in popular music and ultimately American society. I have struggled for a long time weighing the pros and cons of making my story public, as I was reluctant to implicate the individuals who were present that day. So I've simply decided to leave out the names and all the details that may risk my personal well-being and that of those who were, like me, dragged into something they weren't ready for.
Damn.
Hold on, let me
So we gonna tell the story.
We gonna tell the story. We ain't scared.
You know what I'm saying? What they gonna do?
They after us, not scared.
Look, that black man.
So look. So he says, between the late 80s and early 90s, I was what you may call a decision maker with one of the more established companies in the music industry. I came to Europe in the early 80s and quickly established myself in the business. The industry was different back then, since technology and media weren't accessible to people like that, like they are today. The industry had more control over the public and had the means to influence them any way it wanted.
Right.
This may explain why in early 1991, I was invited to attend a closed-door meeting with a small group of business insiders to discuss rap music's new direction. Rap music's new direction.
Yeah.
Little did I know we would be asked to participate in one of the most unethical and destructive business practices ever seen.
Okay.
So this was the meeting. The meeting was held at a private residence on the outskirts of Los Angeles. I remember about 25 to 30 people were being there.
Right.
Most of them familiar faces. Speaking of those I knew, we joked about the theme of the meeting, as many of us did not care for rap and failed to see the purpose of being invited to a private meeting to discuss the future of hip hop.
Talk to him.
Among the attendees was a small group of unfamiliar faces who stayed to themselves and made no attempt to socialize beyond their circle. Based on their behavior and formal appearances, they didn't seem to be from our industry. Our casual chatter was interrupted when we were asked to sign the confidentiality agreement. Hi, folks.
My bad. So this, it didn't even be on the commercial last time.
Getting us from publicly discussing the information presented during the meeting. Needless to say, this intrigued, in some cases, disturbed many of us. The agreement was only a page long, but very clear on matters and consequences, which stated that violating the terms would result in job termination immediately. We asked several people what this meeting was about and the reason for such secrecy, but could not find anyone who had the answers for it. A few people refused to sign and walked out. Nobody stopped them. I was tempted to follow, but curiosity got the best of me.
That's right.
A man who was part of the unfamiliar group collected all the agreements from us. So now, let's get to the good part of the meeting about to start.
Talk to him, Jake.
It says, quickly after the meeting began, hold on one second.
Get your popcorn, y'all.
Popcorn, get your pistol. I was like,
For real though.
Quickly after this meeting began, one of the industry colleagues, who shall remain nameless like everybody else, thanked us for attending. He then gave the floor to a man who only introduced himself by first name and gave no other details about his personal background. I think he was the owner of the residence, but that was never confirmed. He briefly praised all of us for the success we had achieved in our industry and congratulated us for being selected as part of this small group of decision makers. At this point, I began to feel slightly uncomfortable in the strangeness of this gathering. The subject quickly changed as the speaker went on to tell us that the respective companies we represented had invested in a very profitable industry, which could become even more rewarding with our active involvement. He explained that the companies we worked for had invested millions into the building of privately owned prisons, and that our positions of influence in the music industry would actually impact the profitability of these investments.
Okay, so basically what's going on, what was being did was a lot of these record companies, man, had invested in private prison facilities, a lot of money. Then they were using the artists on their labels that was selling records, who was real popular and very influential, to actually be the ones that was selected to assist in the helping of using their music as weapons to actually be the reason why so many of these young brothers and sisters and things in the street will be actually the ones that will be packing these private prison facilities. Okay.
Then he says, I remember many of us in the group immediately looking at each other in awe and confusion. At the same time, I didn't know what a private prison was, but I wasn't the only one. Sure enough, someone asked what these prisons were and what any of this had to do with music. We were told that these prisons were built by privately owned companies who received funding from the government based on the number of inmates. The more inmates, the more the government would pay these prisons. It was also made clear to us that since these prisons are privately owned, as they become publicly traded, we'd be able to buy shares. Most of us were taken back by this. Again, a couple of people asked what this had to do with us. At this point, my industry colleague who had first opened the meeting took the floor again and answered our questions. He told us that since our employees had become silent investors in this prison business, it was now in their interest to make sure that these prisons remain filled. Our job would be to help make this happen by making music which promote criminal behavior, rap being the music of choice.
Okay, rap being the music of choice. Our influence in our music is to promote, advocate the criminal behavior and glorify the things that will lead to these mass incarcerations and packing these prison facilities that these record labels all over the United States are invested in. Okay? Um, you know what's amazing about this? I was in one of those prisons in Minnesota, private CCA prison facility. I was in that prison facility. I was in the same prison facilities he talking about. I was in, so I know exactly what he talking about. But I didn't know who was invested in it and the money behind it.
He assured us that this would be a great situation for us because rap music was becoming an increasingly profitable market for our companies, and as employees, we'd also be able to buy stocks in these prisons. Immediately, silence came over the room. You could have heard a pin drop. I remember looking around to make sure I wasn't dreaming and saw half of the people with dropped jaws. My daze was interrupted when someone shouted, "Is this a fucking joke?" At this point, things became chaotic.
Right.
Two of the men who were part of the unfamiliar group grabbed the man who shouted and attempted to remove him from the house. A few of us, myself included, tried to intervene. One of them put out a gun, and we all backed off. They separated us from the crowd, and all four of us was escorted outside. My industry colleague, who opened up the meeting earlier, hurried out to meet us and reminded us that we had signed an agreement and would suffer the consequences of speaking out about this publicly, or even those who attended the meeting.
Okay.
I asked him why was he involved with something so corrupt, and he replied, "It's bigger than the music business, and nothing we can do. And, no, it's bigger than the music business, and nothing we want to challenge without risking consequences." We all protested as we walked back into the house. I remember word for word the last thing he said. "It's out of my hands now. Just remember you signed an agreement." He then closed the door behind him. The men rushed us to our car and actually waited until we drove off the property.
Damn.
So,
Okay, so basically, y'all see what's going on and who packing these prisons. These prisons are being packed by the majority of blacks and Latinos, using the influence of the music industry, mainly rap, to be the weapon of choice to continue to promote and advocate criminal behavior in our mass incarcerations and the murdering and slaying that takes place in urban communities all over the United States. Now, with that being said, man, peep game, y'all, and understand what you are contributing to. And this is why I was trying to say, regardless to what, we have to address certain issues, especially when these issues concern you. Nobody can sit here and make it seem as though these issues don't concern them. When we all got families and loved ones that's locked up and incarcerated. We got families and loved ones that's been murdered and slain and killed. Everybody knows somebody that got killed they knew. Everybody got somebody they know that's locked up. And these are some of the things that leads to these mass incarcerations and criminal behavior. Let's just be honest. When I was out in the street selling dope, all I would listen to is the music that complemented the lifestyle I was living. I was a drug dealer, so I loved listening to drug dealing music. When you're a shooter, you like listening to shooter music. For every lifestyle you live in the street, there's a category of music to go with it. When you was into girls and pimping and playing, you listen to Too Short and people like Too Short now. When you into the gangster life, we listening to Scarface and things like that. NWX now. When you into dope dealing, we were listening to Master P and you know what I'm saying, things like that. We listened to the music that complemented our lifestyle, that kept us bounded in those lifestyles, which eventually ends up to these situations right here. It's just a fact. Music is a universal language for all people, but it's also a spirit. And they understand through studying the influence that music has on the mind that leads to the lifestyle of keeping a person stuck, that eventually you end up going in these directions that they are invested in financially, as also another weapon of the mass incarcerations of blacks and Latinos. You understand this? That's why you have to be mindful, man. We have to break the cycle. Fathers need to stay involved in their children's lives. Even if you break up with the baby mama, even if things ain't going right in your home, try and humble yourself for the sake and future and life of your children, man. Even if you messed up your life, you have an opportunity and able to put yourself in a position to make a change better for somebody else's life. Like, for instance, I'm already a convicted felon, but my son's not. I can humble myself. Even if I don't get along with my baby mothers, I can humble myself for the sake of my children, to put aside my feeling, my bitterness, my unforgiveness, to make sure that I am involved in my child's life, to steer them in the right direction, that they can have a better chance and opportunity at life, to protect and shield them from the things I didn't know about, that I'm now mindful of, that they won't follow and walk into that same thing. It's very important for us to stand up to the plate, to be responsible. Men have to start being more responsible, and we have to take back the things that were stolen from us. We need to take back our pride. We need to take back our integrity. We need to take back our homes. We need to take back our social standings in our communities, to be an example to the ones that's up and coming, man, to give hope, to give life, to give love, to have a better opportunity, because these systems are being formed and put in play to wipe us completely out. To wipe us completely out. And it's nobody's fault but ours. Because regardless of what system they put in play, we have to be the ones that choose to participate in these things. And what hurts us the most is our lack of knowledge in these situations, man. And this is real life, and this is true. We have to be, come on, man, we have to bring ourselves under self-control and discipline. And when you do not have self-control and you're not disciplined, you want to be involved in everything. Of course, one woman ain't enough. Of course, liquor not enough. Of course, weed ain't enough. Of course, cocaine not enough. Because you are unstable in your mind, in your heart, in your spirit. And when there is no control, your flesh rules your spirit, when there's no control over your spirit. And at the end of the day, I just got to be realistic and tell you the truth. No matter how much we try to talk about this glory land, or this promised land we heading to, or some means of where we could have prosperity, love, freedom, and liberty, apart from God, it's just a lie. At the end of the day, it's a lie. Let's just be realistic. We can't get everybody together and be unified as one. That'll never happen. Never has it ever happened. Jesus couldn't even do that. The only time that will be done is when God removes sin out of the world through Jesus Christ, when he come back the second time. But you can assure with Jesus Christ, you as an individual are successful in the things that you do and what you lay your hands on, with him being the center of it. So that's the first responsibility above all that every man and woman must come to terms with. Either Christ is Lord or he's not. And what you choose in that determines the outcome of your life. I choose to accept Christ as Lord and Savior, which makes me liberated in my life and give me the power to be conquerors in my life, to give me power over the things I didn't have power of. And now that gives me opportunities and put me in positions to make a difference, to be successful, not only in my family, but also in somebody else's. And that's the number one thing. Knowing that before anything, we need God. We need him to work his miraculous, loving miracles in us as a people, that we may know how to fight, that we may know how to stand, that we will make the right choices for ourselves and for our loved ones and anybody that God entrusts us with, that he bring to us. So with that being said, man, Father, step up to the plate, man. Humble yourself. Step up to the plates. Your children need you. Your family needs you. Lead by example. Come out of those lifestyles that are destroying and killing and wiping us out as a people. Turn to God and put your trust in the Lord Jesus Christ, and let his power make you more than conquerors in his name, by the power of the Holy Spirit. With that being said, it's your boy Battle Truth. It ain't my judgment that's in question. It is yours, man. Brothers and sisters, it's time to wake up. Do not be a victim of the system. Do not be a victim of the streets. The enemy is on the move, and he is destroying and wiping us out because of our rebellion, disobedience, and our hard head and ignorance in rebelling and defying the living God. It's time to turn to truth. This your boy Battle Truth. It ain't my judgment that's in question. It's yours. Hit the link in the description box, man. Join my Patreon, man. I got a lot of material, a lot of stuff over there you would love. You would love, man. I'm telling you. Join the Patreon, man. Check out all the stuff over there, man. Also, shouts out to everybody that support me, man. Shouts out to everybody that be showing me love. Real Under His certified gear is available to everybody that's real. If you're not real, you cannot purchase this gear. You can only get it from me by contacting me at 414-235-6760. Other than that, it is what it is. I just want to thank everybody, man, for all the love and support. Strict Dad Foundation, man. Better parents make better children for a better world. Join that movement. I just want to thank everybody for everything you do, man. And it's Battle Truth.